Hi again, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Warriors Weekly. If you're listening to us, it's on 1580 AM WDAB and Travelers Rest, and of course, it's on the SWU Sports Network here on SWUathletics.com. I'm Dan Scott. Very happy to have you with us for another broadcast. A little bit later in the show, we're going to be talking to Coach Charles Wimphrie, who's in his 30th year at this school in the basketball program as both a player and a coach. We're going to catch up with him in a moment, but we begin today's show by a guy who works probably twice as hard as you and I, and for good reason. He coaches two teams here at Southern Wesleyan. Joey Maxon is both the men's and women's golf coach as of December 2014. He joins us first. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
What possessed you to want to coach two teams at once?
I don't know. There's definitely days when I ask myself the same question. You know, like we were talking earlier, it keeps me kind of keeps me entertained. You know, definitely there's definite differences between both teams, the men's and the women's, and guys are a little more competitive, and the girls like to have a little bit more fun. So anytime I want to go from one to the other, it's pretty easy. So it's a lot of fun.
You have to flip a switch, though, right?
I do. There definitely is a, you know, I got to tell myself, you know, when I'm driving, hey, I'm going to coach the girls today or coach the guys one day, and you know, I have to stay very organized. We use a calendar app on our phones that all my players have, and they're able to see exactly what's going on, where they're supposed to be, and everything, and it really, really helps.
That's as much for your benefit, though, as it is for theirs,
it is,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
But that's one of the great things about technology today, and every kid has a cell phone. So when you can do something like that, and get the information to something that's basically attached to their hip 24/7, they really don't have any excuse about missing something.
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword, though. I have to get on them all the time about being on their phones and have some strict rules about not having phones in practice and that kind of stuff. And we have a really good rule about leaving our phones in the van when we go in for dinner, so that's a nice thing too. That way we actually have, you know, adult conversation, and they're not all sitting there texting. But it is very helpful to have the technology to be able to organize them for sure.
So when you schedule matches, I was asking you before, you don't take the men and women to the same weekends and play at the same places. The women have their events, the men have their events. So you're technically on the road more than your student athletes are, because you're going different places with both teams.
I am. We do have a couple of events that overlap. The NCCAA regionals, we have both teams. Then hopefully, if both teams make it to the NCCAA finals down in Panama City, we'll have both teams down there. But I do usually, most weeks, like to take each individual team on their own. I just feel like I can pay more attention that way and get more done. So yeah, it's common for me to be gone 1 week with the girls team and then get back next week and go with the guys team, or even go 2 weeks in a row with the girls and then 2 weeks in a row with the guys, and different things like that. So it's a busy time.
One thing about it, your wife never has to worry about what you're doing the rest of the year. You're always on the golf course somewhere.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she knows exactly where I am.
That's fantastic. And I guess most people say, well, hey, man, he gets to spend all of his time on the golf course. How stressful can that be? They've never dealt with student athletes.
No, and it's golf is one of those things. It's funny. It's much more stressful for me to watch than it is to play, because I have no control. So as a coach out there watching, you know, all I can do is, and I always tell myself, you know, I've done everything I can do at this point to prepare them. And you just hope they do what they've been taught and execute while they're out there. But it can be very stressful. Fortunately, I enjoy golf enough and enjoy being around my players enough, and really like being outdoors. That's you know, I would much rather be out there than be in the office.
When you are at a tournament with your teams, whichever one, doesn't matter, and as you said, you've done all the major coaching you can do. They're the ones who have to play. How do you decide which players you're going to follow around the course, and then what can you do as a coach during a match to try and help a player?
Sure, I can do anything but carry their bag. So I'm pretty much a caddy that can't carry the bag. I can literally walk around and give them anything they need as far as targets, yardages, any help they need, help reading putts, all that kind of stuff. And I do a lot of that. And it'll vary day to day what I do. If there's a younger player who may be struggling along the way, then I may walk 18 holes with them and kind of just tell them shot by shot, this is what I feel like we need to do, this is where we need to aim, this is the club we need to hit, and basically caddy for them without carrying the bag. Other times I'll spend a lot of my time on par threes. That way I can see the whole team as they pass through, help them get water, snacks, whatever they need, and then get them, if it's a really difficult par three, I can get them a really good yardage because I may have been standing there a little while and see what everybody else is hitting. I can see what the wind's been doing for a 20 to 30 minute period. So it varies, but it's either way has its advantages. During the course of the year, I try to walk at least 18 with each one of my players to kind of get an idea. I feel like that really helps them.
Do you have a system set up where if you're with a certain player and somebody a few holes behind you may be struggling with something, that a message will come to you and you can, okay, I'm going to go back here for a bit?
Not really. Yeah. They kind of will flag me down sometimes. So it's been pretty entertaining. I might hear somebody screaming from across the golf course, "Coach, coach, come help me out." So there is times there's not really any sort of system that we use. They're not allowed to have their phones on or out during the tournament, so they're not going to call me. So sometimes occasionally I will get the yell from across the fairway, so I can go riding over there or running over there to see what's going on.
Yeah, all golf etiquette goes out the window.
That's right.
When the putter goes, they'll start screaming to get your attention. We're visiting with Joey Maxon, who coaches both the men's and the women's golf teams here at Southern Wesleyan here on this week's edition of Warriors Weekly. Your time management, I would imagine adjusting to coaching two teams and what you have to do for time management, that would have to have been a pretty big adjustment for you.
It is, especially in regards to just being able to handle recruiting for two teams. I'll get a lot of emails, and I look through every single one of them. I look at all the swing videos that I receive, but then having the time as well to be able to go out and watch players in local events. But yeah, it is. So I try to have set aside times when I take care of emails in the mornings, because obviously most afternoons we have practice. So it is very busy, and it's forced me to even get better at time management than I have been.
You played for a guy right up the road here.
I did.
At
Saw him yesterday.
Larry Penley, who I'm very fortunate to count as a very dear friend, and spent a lot of time talking golf with him over the years when I was working at the Clemson radio station. What, besides what he gave you as a player when you were there, what now do you go to him for, or do you go to him as far as when things come up maybe in coaching? Do you still rely on him to help you, or just for any kind of advice at all?
Sure. He and Coach Bird both. Jordan Bird is the assistant coach over there now. Is a very good friend of mine that I played mini tour golf with. And I've known him really for the better part of 15 years now, and one of my best friends. But I call on them quite a bit. I go work Clemson golf camps each summer, so I spend a lot of time with them over there. Just yesterday I had a player that needed his loft and lies done. They have a loft and lie machine over there. I said, hey, can I bring my guy over there? And they were more than happy to have me over there, and it was wonderful. So I have a great relationship with those guys, and couldn't be happier being as close to them as I am. And, Larry's been awesome. He's literally a coaching legend in college golf, and to have that right up the road, be able to talk to him whenever is great.
Yeah, when you've got your name on the facility, you've done something
right.
That's
right.
So your playing time at Clemson was very successful, some ACC championships and some individual honors in there, and now coaching here at Southern Wesleyan, you're starting to develop some pretty good individual golfers here as well.
I am, and I hope that I had some really good teammates at Clemson that kind of dragged me along, and I give them a lot of credit for making me as good of a player as I was. I am a very competitive player, and I wanted to get better, and they kind of pulled me into that. That's the kind of culture I'm trying to create here at Southern Wesleyan. Is having a group of guys that are very competitive, and yet at the same time they all want to help each other get better. I think that's kind of a really key component for helping college golf teams get better.
Let's talk about some of your kids. Who are the veterans that you're counting on each of your squads right now?
Sure. Briar Hurd on my guys' team is one that jumps out. He's a senior. He was our best player last year. I expect him to really lead this team, and we've got a very young team with 4 freshmen, a couple sophomores, and I think only 1 junior on our roster. So Briar's going to be a really important component of getting all these freshmen organized. And I do have a very talented class of freshmen that are here, and they're going to contribute a lot this year, so I really look forward to seeing what they're going to do. Briar's one that's important. I have a sophomore, Sasha Barberin from France. He's also going to be very important. He played every event last year, I think all but one. So he got a lot of good experience, and he was a guy that at the end of last year really started to come on. So I expect him to kind of step back in right where he was last year, kind of drive his team. But really excited about the guys team, excited about the girls team as well. I have really one important senior coming back on the girls team, Jolene Pearson from Alberta, Canada. She's going to be a really important part. She's already been, as we started girls practice, she's already been a very vocal leader on the team and helping these freshmen get going, which is great. I'm in a very similar situation with my girls team. I've also got 4 freshmen on that side, and I expect all 4 of them to contribute as well right away. So it's an exciting time, and I'm really looking forward to the season.
International players on both your men's and women's team. Is golf a sport that usually lends itself to recruiting internationally?
It is, and it all depends on where you're at. The difference in an international player and a player from South Carolina is a player from South Carolina or an international player doesn't know the difference in Clemson and Southern Wesleyan as far as golf goes. I mean, that being said, a Division I and a Division II program. And my goal is for my program to be kind of transcendent, where I don't want my guys thinking of themselves, as Division II golfers. I want them to be the best they can be wherever they're at. So, yeah, they really don't know the difference. They're more concerned about the coach being able to play and stuff like that. So, I feel like it's easier in many instances to get a better international player than it is, someone that's more local.
Just a couple of minutes left. So now that all the kids are back on campus, what's going on right now? What's the schedule like in the immediate future?
It's been hectic for the past couple of weeks getting everybody settled in, but we're getting to the point now where we've started women's practice. The women finish up a week earlier than the guys do, so we start the guys a week later. So right now we're having just women's practice. We'll start guys qualifying, jump right in on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday with qualifying, and they'll get going pretty quick. But right now, just the girls. We have our first women's tournament this weekend, so we'll leave very early Sunday morning to go up to Snow Hill, North Carolina, Barton's tournament up there. We compete Monday and Tuesday up there, and then very next week we've got the guys tournament over in Anderson, the first guys tournament, so it just gets going like crazy. And then we go really all the way up. The guys finish up November 1st with a tournament up at Western Carolina, Division I tournament. Should be a good field up there. And then it's just, we kind of get into the off season after that.
Never stops.
It doesn't. There is no off season.
Exactly. You sound like a football coach more than a golf coach right now. Well, listen, thank you for spending some time with us. I just marvel at the energy level you have to be able to pull this off with 2 teams, and the fact that we're seeing some success on top of it. Just fantastic.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Jeff Maxon. When we come back, Charles Wimphrie joins us. We'll talk some basketball as Warriors Weekly continues right after this. Warriors Weekly continues here on 1580 WDAB and on the Warrior Sports Network. You can catch this show on Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. on WDAB. It's archived on the radio station website and also at SWUathletics.com, the video portion of it. We thank our first guest, Joey Maxon, who I think I called Jeff right at the end of that interview, but he forgave me, he said, so that's all good. One guy who we all know very, very well has been around here for a long time. I'm not going to say that makes him old. This makes him a veteran. It's his basketball coach, Charles Wimphrie. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good, good. 30 years associated coaching here at Southern Wesleyan now, and that's after playing.
Yes.
So that's a good run.
Yeah, it's been a good run. I've enjoyed it. There have been some ups and some downs, but most I've enjoyed.
There's nothing that goes on inside this basketball program, or really anything, I guess, that could go on inside this university that could catch you by surprise anymore, right?
No. I tell all the new guys, if you want to know anything, just come see me. And nothing can catch me by surprise.
And if they're, as kids will do, if they're thinking about testing you or pushing you or seeing what they can get away with, nothing new under the sun.
I've had it all.
It's like raising children, right?
That's right, that's right.
Let's kind of go back and work our way forward. You played here.
Yes.
In the old NAIA days, right? Through 1982.
Yes. Graduated from high school, went to Citadel. Played down there with Coach Robinson. He recruited me. After 1 year, then I came up here, played for Coach Drennan. Coach Drennan left and went to Limestone. And then Coach Thomas Shaver came. I finished my career with Thomas Shaver in 1982.
You got a chance to play professionally overseas for a bit. What was that experience like?
It was, at first, you know, couldn't speak the language and all that, but it was great. It was a great experience. Over in Rio, over in that area, we traveled all over northern Brazil. But you know, with the Olympics, just, you know, concluding, there's a lot of things, a lot of memories I saw when I was over there. It's just amazing. It's been that long, and I still have that memory that when I was over there.
What were you like as a player?
I was a ferocious kind of player. Now, I played the small forward. In high school, I finished high school at Lawrence High School, and I averaged 20 points and 15 rebounds a game. I was a little bit bigger than up here, but I was taught that, you know, that guy that's guarding you is trying to take away what you want to do. And when you guarding him, he trying to do to you what you try to do to him.
Right.
And I just believed in myself and just continued to just outplay anybody that I played with. Because in District 6, you know, when I finished, I was 5th in the nation in scoring. I averaged 27 points a game when I was here.
Yeah.
And that drive just stayed in me, and it drives it with me now as a coach. And we all know if you don't have a passion, when that go away, Dan, I'm out. I love coaching. I love kids. I love developing kids. It's been a perfect opportunity here.
Yeah, and you have found over the years that you have to adjust and change because the generations of kids have changed over 30 years.
Yes, yes. About 10 years ago, when I began to see the change and experience the change in the way the athlete think and the entitlement. And I don't waver too much on what I believe. I'm an old school guy. But if I want to shape and mold these young men, I kind of have to back off a little bit and give them a little bit more freedom. I think all of us coaches are finding that out. But just, you know, this generation of kids.
Is that hard to do?
Yes, it is at times. But I tell them all the time, I say, if you're going to fix me a hot dog, you better put mustard on it. So if you're going to throw it behind the back pass like that, you better make sure you put mustard on it for me. It's got to be consistent.
Right. You know, you talked about the ferocity with which you played, and I'm sitting here thinking as you were talking about that, a lot of guys can go out and get to 20. You were talking about, you average 20. But it takes a mindset to go get the 15 rebounds.
Right.
That's something, anybody can score, but to defend and rebound, I mean, that is a mindset that you really have to buy into to be able to do that. Or you're not going to play.
You're just not going to, that's right. I mean, when the ball leaves anyone's hand, it's a free. It's anybody's ball. It's hit the rim. You can go get that ball. You got to be hungry enough to go get it, have the desire to go get it. And God knows, don't quit on plays. You know, we have guys in this generation, they quit on plays. The shot goes up, they just watch the ball. I mean, that's the most difficult thing about it, because the game should be played the right way. And the right way is to play through till you hear a whistle, to zeros on the clock, and so forth. That's what I was taught.
You know, it's interesting. I've been blessed for the first 5 years of my career over at Furman to work the basketball games with Ron Smith as my color analyst. Of course, Ron played at Furman, coached high school basketball, and as much as he was known as the baseball coach over there for 24 years, in Ron's mind, Ron's always been a basketball guy. And he told me on the air, he told me in conversations off the air, he said, when I coached, he said, my best defender and my best rebounder were going to start. And they were going to play the most minutes as long as they didn't get in foul trouble. And then everybody else around that would fit in. But he was going to play his best defender and his best rebounder.
Right. And that nowadays, kids, I mean, usually it's just one shot and done. You shoot the ball now, kids are backing up going down. They don't go to offensive glass. You be yelling and trying to get them to do that. It's just a mindset. I like that mindset Coach Smith had, because when you find a kid like that, you invest in that kid.
Yeah. When Oliver Purnell was at Clemson, he used to call that the freshmen when they come in. He used to say that he had to get rid of what he called the high school trot.
Right. Right.
You shoot the jumper, trot back down to the other end of the floor. If they were going to play for him, and it's like they're going to have to play for you.
Right.
They're going to have to play defense. They're going to have to crash the boards.
Right. And it's a mindset. That's all it is. It's egotistic, number one.
You got to be selfish. That's my ball, right?
Right. But the selfish on offense. I mean, it's always, but going to get a rebound, I've always said this, and this is in writing somewhere, I can't remember who said this, that rebounding is not a skill, it's a will. You can say what you want, you can tell them to do this, but if they don't have the will to go get it, they're not going to do it.
Yeah. Again, Ron always said that defense and rebounding travel. You may not have the best shooting night.
That's right.
But effort is something that should be with you every game, home or away.
Exactly.
You came here to coach as an assistant in '86.
Yeah.
And then when your first head coaching job came along, you actually really coached the women's team, right?
Yes. Yes. I was with the men team for 3 years, and the women job came open and was offered to me. And I was hesitant at first, but basketball is basketball. I teach basketball. It can be male, female. And I took the position, and we built the program in a 2-year period from, we won the Palmetto State Athletic. That's what was Palmetto State Athletic Conference back then. And we won that in the second year. Got to the regional playoffs. And right after that, the men's job came over here, and it was something I really had to pray about, because that was my second year with the women. We had recruited really well, and they had a really good team coming back. So I enjoyed that. It was a great run, and then when I took over the men, because that's where my heart is with the men. Played in that uniform and all that, it was, and I took it, and it's been gravy ever since.
In one sense, though, is there added pressure on yourself that maybe you put on yourself because you played here, and now you're the coach here, that you love that uniform so much, or is it pressure, or is it more of a motivator?
It's both. I don't let pressure get to me. But there's certain things that I want done here. And, early in the years, we was doing great, going to the playoffs, and NAIA, national tournament, and all that kind of stuff. Recently, it's just been, we made this move, NCAA move. It's been kind of tough trying to start all over again, and trying to recruit the kind of player that we need to play on this level. I tell my recruits all the time, and their families, that the goal is to graduate. That's why I recruit you. I recruit you because the goal, you should focus on is to graduate. So when doing this whole change, I still, well, as a matter of fact, I still have 3 NAI players on the team now, and they're seniors, and they graduated this year. So, but I want to stick with them to make sure they finish out.
Absolutely. Otherwise, all the loyalty you preach goes out the window if you don't.
That's right.
What about the move to Division II? You've got to be some advantages to recruiting.
Oh, it's been great. Been able to go and spend a lot of time with different coaches on a different recruiting venue.
Right.
In the past, I would sometime appear at NCAA events as an NAIA coach, but you don't get any kind of attention. You really didn't. I mean, and now it's entirely different. You feel a part of it. You feel welcome. You get to talk X and O's with a lot of coaches that you see on TV and all over, and it's been great to see the difference that those 4 letters make in recruiting, and it's the kind of athletes I've gotten in over the last year and a half, 2 years.
So is there a time frame you've set where you feel like, okay, after this many recruiting classes under the NCAA banner, that this is when we should be at our most competitive, or are you ready to be most competitive right now?
The second year here, because I signed 8 freshmen last year, I signed 6 this year.
So you're young.
Yeah, we're young, very young, but I think we're very talented. I think we're going to be able to. This is our first year competing in Conference Carolina, and I think we're going to make the top 8. I really feel confident that we have the numbers in place to at least get in the top 8 and get in the tournament, conference tournament. To answer your question, I think next year. I really want to say this year, but I still got young kids right now, and not a lot of experience. And with experience, you got to have experience.
We've got just about 30 seconds left. What is going on, since you're still officially in the quote-unquote off-season, and we know there's really no off-season anymore? What are you doing with your kids right now as you head towards that October official practice opening?
Well, with NCAA rules, we spend 8 hours a week. We started yesterday with strength and conditioning training. Today we're going to do some skill work. So we'll be doing that up to October 15th when we can officially start.
And then it's on.
It's on.
30 years here at Southern Wesleyan as a coach, and still going strong. It's Charles Wimphrie. Charles, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. That'll do it for this week's edition of Warriors Weekly. We'll be back with you again next week here on 1580 WDAB and on the SWU Sports Network. Until then, for Joey Maxon and Charles Wimphrie, I'm Dan Scott. God bless you, and so long, everybody.